So for the panel, I mean, again, feel free, of course, to ask questions about their talks, but we also have with us, again, some of the true in this area of AI. So feel free to ask any question AI related. Among the four of them, I'm pretty sure we're going to find an answer. But maybe just to kick off that, I'll ask you maybe in 2 sentences, each one of you, what are you most excited or worried about around this era of AI? Anyone wants to take a first shot at this? Lydia.
Can you guys hear me? Yeah. I am very excited about freeing up some of this drudgery, some of this bureaucracy that has become a large part of my job, both as a professor and when I'm out in industry. There's just a lot of it as we have to document everything. I think doctors face a lot of this burden. They have, like, for health insurance reasons, they have to say everything they've ever done. It's become like 50% of their job when they really should be interacting with patients, not filling the forms. So I think a lot of that will help. I think that AI can transform information in ways to make it more useful that a human doesn't have to do those transformations. The thing that I'm a little scared about is as AI gets more and more skills, I worry about sort of an erosion of a middle class, or, you know, to get from okay to great, you have to pass through the middle. And if AI is pretty good at that middle, I worry that there won't be like a ladder for people to climb. Maybe we'll have to stay in school longer. Maybe we'll just pair with the AI all the time, and there'll always be like the human-facing part of it to do. So I don't know what the answer is, but I do worry about what happens to the middle that AI is actually quite good at.
So, I mean, I'm also very excited about that work can actually become better. The employee experience will increase if we use it right. What I'm worried about is the transition. When you think about like what happens in the Industrial Revolution, you know, eventually there was shared prosperity, but for a period of time, it was terrible. It actually led to revolutions. And now we're seeing a much faster speed where like some of those skills that people had, or they need to learn new tasks very, very fast. And not everybody will make that. I think that in the long run, I'm much more positive, but like in this transition period, I'm worried that it goes too fast and that we don't keep up.
Yanni?
I'm actually thinking pretty much in a similar way. I think one of the most important questions I'm interested in is basically how humans should live with AI. I think that's not only the question, you know, like we are facing, it's like everyone is facing in our era. On the one hand, you know, like I'm very kind of, you know, optimistic about sort of how it will, you know, do many work for us, so kind of free our capacity, so everyone, you know, can kind of enjoy their life and can enjoy learning and can grow up to a kind of better person. On the other hand, I think there is also, it's going to be a huge kind of like social structure change, how we are kind of allocating, you know, like wealth, how we are kind of allocating power, and that's also the thing I'm worried about. And but I believe kind of you know, a joint effort, if everyone kind of join this conversation and with kind of a good mind, we eventually will figure it out as a kind of a species.
So for me, I think I'm really excited about how AI can really help us understand humans better, actually, and, you know, give us insight into the human brain and behavior. I'm also really worried about the workplace implications, and as Stefan said, like the potential devastation of communities, and I think beyond that, I think also AI is also media. So all of these companies now are actually shaping the information we consume, and so they're shaping our values, our beliefs, and culture. And I think that's a lot of responsibility to be placed in profit-seeking. I mean, that's the French person talking here, sorry. These private companies, and so like letting them shape our society, I think. I'm a bit worried about the implications. I mean, there's research now showing that actually AI makes us less intelligent and dumber. We get lazy also, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, I look forward to see how my kids will interact with AI, but I'm also fear for, I mean, what do we advise our kids, right, in terms of what professions to
Study robotics.
to study? Yeah, until that is being taken away. Yeah. Let me open it up. I mean, clearly we're here for you and for your questions. So let me open it up to questions that come from the audience.
So my question really is the fact that in a few years, 5, 10 maybe, or even less, depending on the speed of how the technology is evolving, will human work for AI or AI work for human in the future? Right? I contemplating this question is right now it seems like AI is still working for us because we're controlling a lot of the factors and the parameters and the process or whatever. But in 5, 10 years, I would just want to hear the experts here is, will we be working for AI instead? I want a thought from you guys.
I personally have projects where AI takes both roles. Sometimes it manages us better than we can, and sometimes the reverse, we're good at, and so it really depends on where your expertise lies. I like to think about people as having a lot of different expertises, but with various levels of fidelity. So I may be really good at computer science, but maybe worse at writing, or anyone can do these things, but your strength relative to AI could be worse. So I'm like terrible at sales. Guess what AI is great at? Just like, this is the greatest thing ever. You should buy it. Writing email, all that stuff. So in that case, and I'm happy for let it to manage me, and I'm just like, okay, because I'm not a relative expert in that. There's so many skills that we need as people to operate. We don't have jobs. We have lots and lots and lots of tasks, soft tasks, at-home tasks, communicate. Even like within communication, there's so many ways. Like, I'm not a very good negotiator, but I'm good at other things. Like, there's so many tiny things, and we're not good at them at all of them. So for the things that we are, we could probably manage AI to do, but the things that we're not, maybe AI manages or even teaches us. So I think we should model people not as tasks or jobs, but as a lot of different things and compare our ability on those things to AI and take a place perspective of that.
I mean, there are already AI who are bosses. You know, if you're a gig worker, an Uber driver, I mean, your boss is an algorithm who allocates you where and when you work. And there is, I think, more and more of that. I think it's what is more about like you work together with an AI instead of like one is the boss or not. So, you know, I mean, already now, you know, I'm having a conversation with my AI when I design something, when I think about my lesson plan, you know, I'm not asking like, do it. I'm like, what do you think about this? And like, I'm almost having a conversation with it together. I think that's much more the norm than like they work for us or not. It's this, if it really works out well, it's this combination then to what Lydia said, you know, then you delegate a little bit more of some tasks to one, but that it's become to be more and more of a boss, you know, allocates and does what a boss, what's some things what a boss does, you know, allocate your time, telling you where to go, what to do. I think that's already there, and I think there's probably going to be more of that.
Yeah.
Hi, hi. Thank you for your presentations. So my question is about the current trajectory of AI research and the recent what seems to be increasingly drive towards profits. Like OpenAI used to be like a research house, and now they're trying to pivot to for-profit research. So for-profit the use of their tools. And so my question is, do you feel that the current trajectory we're on is beneficial, or do you think there needs to be a little I don't know about slow down, but more focus on the potential dangers of AI, like increasing misinformation, disinformation, or AI slop on the internet, and how can we make sure that individuals, whether it be in the workforce or just in society, are prepared for that? Thank you.
So who would be doing that though? I mean, the governments, not in the next few years in the US. So I'm not sure. Yeah,
I mean, the one thing I would say is that if you compare at least to if you take the social media era, right? It took way too long, right? Until we figure out that we shouldn't let the company monitor themselves. At least with AI, the discussion is here. I mean, governments is changing and so on, but the discussion is here almost from day one of these tools. So I mean, at least there's maybe some optimism in the sense that again, with social media, it really took us a decade before we started even having the discussion of let's maybe take the regulation outside of the social media companies. But it may be much more difficult here than it was with social media. So I guess that's some of the pros and the cons for it, at least.
Yeah, I think I can kind of make 2 points here. One is that I think that's exactly kind of the value the school and academia is kind of providing here, because when the government doesn't do its work, actually a lot of researchers, we are trying to look kind of different ways of either kind of hacking the system or kind of protect the system and make sure kind of like things are not kind of out of control. I think that's one. The second thing is that many times people argue saying like if we worry too much about the danger, we are slowing down the development of technology. But I actually like another type of argument, which is that talking about the danger and kind of trying to control the risk, it's not slowing down the technology. Rather, it actually helps the technology to even move faster. Right? In the sense of that, if you think about the nuclear kind of plant, if there is actually a disaster kind of happen for one of those plants, then everyone will kind of get shocked. Then they will shut down even like the development of the whole technology. So if we can kind of prepare ourselves and to kind of understand those risks, we can kind of avoid us to kind of get into that situation. Then maybe make the technology even move faster. So,
and maybe just to relate to your first point about academia being some of the maybe the gatekeeper, if you will. I think both of your presentations on these digital twins and synthetic data, there is a huge push from the marketing research industry, from the polling industry to use this because it's obviously much cheaper, right? I mean, in fact, you don't need to survey anyone. So it's almost lies on us to say, wait a minute, it's maybe not as good as you think it is. The market research industry, obviously, as you mentioned, all of these companies would want to tell you these are perfect. So it's maybe our role to show some of the when it works and when it doesn't, which hopefully we will learn from this project.
Hi, thank you so much for your presentations. I have a question related to the digital twins research, even though I think it can probably be broadened to discuss some of the other points that you guys made. I know that this is BS, so we're focusing a lot on the kind of interaction between industry, enterprise, and human behavior. But I think it's interesting that during the summit, there have been quite a few sideline panels focused on things like climate or application of digital twins and AI to non-human areas like urban planning, or I know NVIDIA, for example, has digital twins of Earth modeling that's helping right now with climate change modeling. Is that something that you think is going to be reflected in some of the trends in the business world of not focusing maybe so much on products that are designed for humans, but also thinking more about how the ML algorithms can be applied to sort of non-human use cases?
I can just speak a little bit. I really like this question because this is actually how I started to kind of do my research in operations, because I got fascinated by the idea of like digital twin of simulating everything, because for the operations is about basically optimizing a large system like those matching system in Uber or supply chain system in Amazon. Then I kind of feel like one thing is missing is like we propose a lot of optimization algorithms and also modeling, but the one thing is missing is that we don't actually have a simulator for what is going on right now. And the digital twin is actually the piece, to sort of do that. And I really like that concept, sort of, like we can have, let's say, really realistic digital twin kind of matching the reality and telling us, like, basically kind of answer our question about like what is happening right now. If I'm going to do this change, what is going to happen in the future? With that being said, I also see there is a lot of kind of challenges of doing that. In particular, kind of simulating those counterfactual questions, which is, what if I'm doing this? And so I personally feel like that's a very interesting question. That's also getting me into the world of digital twin with LLM. So resonated a lot.
Thank you. And building off what Professor Netzer said, where academia could potentially regulate AI or assist in regulating it, couldn't AI presumably do things better than academia could? I mean, traditionally it's research, publication, and education. Couldn't AI almost do it better?
Yeah, I mean,
a loaded question. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, this is a question we refuse to answer. But I mean, again, I would go back to more of the view of that both Lydia and Stefan mentioned, which other tasks that they can do better, absolutely. As a system as a whole, maybe one day, right? But I think there are definitely tasks that we're already benefiting from the use of AI, both in research. I mean, think about proofreading. In fact, go even step earlier, spellers. I mean, I actually moved to this country at a time where speller already existed, which means I'm actually less good of a speller than I would have been had spellers did not exist. But my documents are better spelled than if I had to learn it myself. And so I'm sure we are going to use many, we already are using many of these tools in education, both in research and in our teaching. I mean, I right now run almost every paper through checking it for copy editing and so on. So definitely many of the tasks. As a whole, I think it would take some time, and definitely anything to do with the more human interactions are things that will take time. But I'm curious if others on the panel.
I agree with a lot of it. Actually, I have been actively trying to replace my research process so that with AI, so I can publish more, create more value. And I would say it has the potential to do some of those things. I have recordings of myself teaching. I don't need to actually teach. I give the same lecture every time and nobody comes anytime. They watch the recording anyway. Yeah, see, you guys know. I would say the one characterization that I would add to you of what I do is I pick what questions to ask. That is the one thing AI is not great at. You have to specify what problem you are solving. And I don't know how you guys feel, but one of my math professors, whereas math, it seems so hard just solving, he's like, well, it's even harder to pick the problem. And I still think that that's true. And that's one thing I have not gotten AI to do for me. It really does just recycle old problems that it's heard before. When it tries to reach for new things, it doesn't really have any authentic insights to build it off of. I will keep trying to get it to do that, but problem specification and coming up with what you want it to do has continued to be the thing where people are routinely most valuable.
I think also maybe building on that, I think research often is based on observations, things you observe, experiences, and AI I think is not as good yet as observing because it's sitting on the cloud, it's not actually interacting with humans like we do. So I think it's missing on that the inspiration for research.
Yeah, it's missing a lot of the data that you would need to have the observations that lead to innovation. I agree.
So on this great note that the next AI Summit is going to be on AI, within the world of AI, because we won't be needed, I want to thank all of you for coming. I want to thank the panelists and the speakers. I want to thank the Digital Future Initiative and Kathleen and Julie for organizing this event here at Columbia Business School. And again, looking forward to see how you go into the world of AI. And again, feel free to keep interacting with us as we are doing our research on AI. So thank you to all of you.
Thank you.